5 o'clock, and we are going to bring this work session into order. And we have 3 items on the agenda here. Number 1 is proposed work session.
Hello, everybody. Long time no see. Okay, so tonight we have three work session topics. I'm going to talk a little bit on the first one, and then Travis Thornburg is going to take over for the second 2 topics on the agenda. So what I've done for the first 6 months of this calendar year is I've prepared kind of a calendar of work session dates and possible topics for you all to discuss. I have went ahead and put some items in these dates because they're things that we either need to do or we've scheduled some things that have already been scheduled. And then down at the bottom, I just put a list of things that have been brought up to discuss and prioritize by the city council. So what I would like tonight is just some feedback on what your priorities are over the next 6 months for work sessions. And if we can get a solid calendar in front of you, I think it makes it a little bit easier for everybody. So the first item is the developer-related survey results and review. Rob asked for this at the December work session meeting. He wanted Go Polk City to send out a survey and for the Go Polk City board to come and have a follow-up work session with the city council. Go Polk City has said that they would send out a survey. They are going to prioritize their strategic planning first. If you don't want to wait for Go Polk City to send out a survey, city staff is happy to draft up a survey and send out results. I just need a little bit of feedback from you on how to handle this. But that is the first thing that I have for a work session topic. The second thing is discussion of unneeded excess city-owned property. This is something the city staff has been working on for about the last year. We have about 12 to 15, I'm going to call it excess alleyways or small parcels of tracts, and they are specifically located in the older parts of Polk City that we would like to bring a presentation to you all on to see if you're interested in disposing of those properties. Most of those are pretty small properties, like I mentioned, they're alleyways or small tracts of land in the old part of town. Capital projects discussion. I know that we have a lot of capital projects going on right now. The one that I am thinking of that we'll probably need to discuss in the next few months or so is the North Side Drive realignment in phase 1 of the trail project. So I've just put capital projects discussion as needed in there. And then the structural analysis review for old City Hall building. We had a work session 2 weeks ago, and you all did kind of give feedback that your priority was to prioritize the old City Hall building and try to get a structural analysis done for that building. So I've put that on the list of topics for discussion. I know several of you have told me you like seeing a calendar of work sessions well in advance so you know what we're discussing. So I'm trying to do better at something like this.
I like the calendar. Thank you.
Yep.
And at least for me, it helps me, be prepared a little bit better to know what's coming up. I guess since I'm talking, I'll go first. I know one of the things about your survey, I personally would like to see that produced by Go Polk City. So depending on feedback from anybody else, unless anybody has how much time is fair enough for them to be able to do that, so we can kind of slot that in here.
Yeah, and I would add, so what I asked in December was what the discussion of the activities, and I don't know about the whole work session on it. And I think whichever meeting, in February, which for the most board members come to a consensus and doesn't out. It's questions more than these. Yeah, my premise is back doing it honestly helpful.
Okay. Okay.
Because I like to know what we're asking. What will people up to? What are the actual goals, measures? Ask developers, what are we asking? I guess I would open it up to a bigger circle. Developers are going to come in and they're going to develop based on what they need in their portfolio. But I think we also need to know from the community, what does the city want? What do residents want? I think we also, as city staff, look for development projects. What does council look for development projects? So the target to meet. And I would be asking development realtors, what are you finding? Why would you go to community neighbors? What kind of information are you looking for? Where do you get that information? How much value with that information? Population, are you looking at traffic counts? Are you looking at zoning? Why do you do instead of how is the development process and giving I think that's part of it, but I think it needs to be something. But I'd also want to know how is Polk City delivering such a phone or this email or hard copy, online. There's lots of different ways that we get the city, Polk City, encompass that information so that we have more details to help not just the developers but the city going on. And I'm in no hurry to do this, but I think it's good to make it valid.
I think you described the full scope. I think there's a lot there. I think there's a ton we can do. And again, like this would, if Polk City's gonna lead it, I would kind of defer to their expertise, but the way that I would view something like this, and again, I haven't been involved in what this would really look like, but for me, you know, back over a year ago when we told Polk City, we expect you to do economic development. I think this is an aspect of this, gathering information right now. We've had an influx of commercial development that we haven't had. So to capitalize on the recent feedback that we might get, and I think there's 3 buckets that I would love to see them get information on. One, what do we do well? How can we use those? You know, what are our strengths? Why did you choose Polk City? Or 2, are there policy type things, the city council, you know, is there some minor requirement that drives people crazy and they're like, why do we have to do this? And we don't even know it's an issue for them to solicit some of the policy information that Polk City that could come to us and say, did you realize by requiring this costs businesses X amount of money and do you really care that much about it? And maybe we're good with everything, but it open our eyes to some of those things. And the 3rd piece is the process. I think, you know, getting a variety of information, but recognizing our strengths and where our challenges are, because right now, looking ahead, you know, we want to get ourselves in the best position we can, further out spaces develop. So again, here's the full scope of what you had. I would see it a little less technical at this point, where, you know, Polk City could maybe present to us, here are, you know, a handful of things. And to see, again.
I think it's a 2-phase approach. I really get what we can. Water, metro.
Okay, I think that's good. So I will try to schedule something with Go Polk City. I reached out to Go Polk City to see if they would come to a work session. I haven't heard back from them if they would, but I'll prioritize that. We'll work on a list of questions that you kind of all just gave me some thoughts on. We will bring those questions to the work session. They can produce their own questions. We can have a combination of, city questions that you all just brought up, and we can see which ones get sent out.
Back to Rob, you said it could be an item on the agenda. I like the idea of it being a work session so that we can have more of that free dialogue, I think, between us and Go.
Okay,
But that is
Yeah,
how I would.
that'd be my preference too.
okay.
I think you have to look at timing, because Go Polk City hasn't found somebody to lead strategic planning yet, and you've got 224 open, and they're never gonna have that done by 224. So your best bet is 428.
I understand that the survey is their priority, but
No, strategic planning is the number one priority. And certainly,
for the 24th is obviously. February,
We'll work and see what works best for a majority of them and the executive director, but we'll see. We understand it's a priority. So we'll see what we can come up with. Okay, just real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. Discussion of excess city-owned property. This is something that I've asked Jenny and Mike to be working on, and they're going to be giving you a presentation in the near future on this. Just a number of things. If the city owns property that they don't need, the top priority would be to try to get it on the tax rolls if possible. I don't think that it's necessarily something we're looking at, making a lot of money off of selling, but it'd be getting it on the tax rolls and getting it off of the city's insurance policy. Okay, capital projects discussion. Any particular capital projects you feel like we need to spend some time giving updates on? Obviously, we're going to talk about things that we need input from the council on for capital projects, but we'll just plug those in as needed. We did put the sump pump collector project in for a presentation in May. Just, there's so many property owners involved with that project. We think that making sure the council has updated information is really critical to the success of that project. So we plugged that in. And then the structural analysis review for Old City Hall building. I had mentioned this at our last work session, but I have engaged 2 different structural engineering firms to come up with a proposal. I'm hoping to turn that around pretty quickly within the next few weeks, if that's something that the council wants to prioritize doing, and then having results within probably a month or 6 weeks or so. Would you all say that that is a top priority of yours to have that information? Okay.
So I guess, since I started talking originally, I guess I'm a little confused, Chelsea. So you presented to us kind of a timeline with 4 open slots and then 4 topics. Are we looking to actually slate those topics into those openings, or are you looking, what are you looking for?
Yes, I can. I can put those topics into openings, and then
Is that
we've,
what you're wanting?
yeah, yep, I think so. That's the goal, is to just have a calendar for the first half of the year. And then as we get closer to July, we'll work on, either a quarterly calendar or a,
'Cause I guess I was
second half of the year.
Conversations. I assumed we were going to take 4 items, right?
I think step one is probably understanding what they entail and agreeing that we want to put these all in dates, but yeah, I think it seems like that's where we want to land.
Okay, so I'm going to prioritize the developer survey. We'll try to get the structural analysis in. We'll plan to present on the excess city-owned property and the capital projects discussion as needed. Okay, thank you. Did you have something to add, Nick? No. Okay, all right, I'm gonna let Travis get to his presentation then.
All right, so I'm here to talk to you about two topics. I'm a paper and pencil guy, so I gave you guys presentations as well as you should have gotten them in the packet as well. So however you'd like to follow them with our unique setup that we have right now, I'll try to tell you when I'm transitioning slides just so that we can all stay on the same page. So the first topic we're going to talk about is the establishment of sanitary sewer hookup fee districts. We're doing this under our general engineering agreement through work with city staff, where we've looked at establishing 4 different sanitary sewer hookup fees. And so on that second slide, we've got the southeast sanitary sewer service area, the northeast sanitary sewer service area, the north sanitary sewer service area. These should all be familiar to the council. These are based on the sanitary trunk sewer studies that we did in 2022. But then the fourth one is the Big Creek Sanitary Sewer Service Area. That's kind of a cleanup item that's kind of been hanging out basically in limbo since interest rates started going up, so that we took the opportunity, or we felt that this was a good opportunity to address that. So on that next slide, I kind of gave you an idea, or a few items to keep in mind as we're looking at all of these. All these items apply to all of these. So the cost opinions and hookup fees are based on the current year 2025 pricing, or our best estimate of those. Currently, the hookup fee ordinance that we have set up is set up such that each year the city council at the first meeting in January would adopt the previous year's inflation or an interest rate and apply those to each hookup fee district. So these hookup fees that we're proposing wouldn't be stagnant. They would grow in accordance with what the economic status is year over year. That's the way we've had it set up. If the council has interest, we could discuss with the city attorney predetermining those increases as well. It's just a how do you want to handle it kind of thing. And then all improvements in this ordinance is for the entire service area. So that's the way that we've set these up, is these are the most overarching improvements, and then these hookup fee districts would be then subdivided as we continue to expand into these new expansion areas with different trunk sewers as the city participates, reimburses, or constructs these sewers. And then, as I mentioned, those would be adjusted as we move forward. So we'll move to the southeast sanitary sewer service area. So this is the area basically in and around Highway 415 east of the dam. So this would include the Antler Ridge subdivision, the Allure at Saylorville subdivision, and then Hollywoods. The intent of this district is hookup fees to cover the city's cost sharing associated with the Antler Ridge trunk sewer. So because of the oversizing and over depth required to serve south of Highway 415, the city entered into a development agreement that reimbursed the developer of the Antler Ridge subdivision $450,000. So that's $450,000 spread over 236.6 acres, amounting to a hookup fee of $1,905 per acre. So that would be the remaining non-developable area, or the remaining developable area within the southeast trunk sewer service area. This one in particular, because it's it's a much smaller service area than some of the other ones, we've taken the opportunity as well to deduct some of the unbuildable areas out. So the Iowa DOT owned mitigation site there that Allure kind of wraps around is excluded. The low-lying area owned by the Johnson family that's completely inundated by an Army Corps detention easement has been excluded, as well as a couple of other small areas that we've determined are largely undevelopable. The next one will, go ahead.
Yeah, so, so if I did my math correctly, there's a good chance I did not, that's simple math, the cost divided by the acre.
Correct.
Right? So is there a mechanism to include density as a factor for a rationale? So my non-engineering brain, yeah, especially probably not this one where you got the Allure, where we're charging the same per acre rate on a high density development as some of these
Yeah, so typically, the way that sewer district fees are set up is it's a by acre basis because that is the most equitable in terms of you have a piece of land and you're developing it in the manner you choose to. We could investigate if you'd like to kind of lean that towards the higher users. We could investigate how that works. We've actually got a meeting set on Wednesday with the city attorney to discuss that. But if that's an item you'd like to discuss, we could discuss that with Aaron.
Well, I mean, as an option.
Yeah.
I just think we've got very different developments here. If there's the full implications of what that means.
That's what we're gonna do, is got more people per acre.
Density and use.
Yeah.
A lot of that's gonna be commercial.
And maybe it's pennies, it doesn't matter.
So it wouldn't be, like,
It's what we're gonna do.
Okay, we can talk to Aaron about that on Wednesday. Anything else on the southeast? Okay, so then we'll move to the northeast. So the northeast sewer service area is located north and east of the lift station. So basically the southeast goes south and east of that lift station. The northeast goes north and east. So this would include subdivisions such as Big Creek Ridge, Monarch Crossing, and then Sunrise Ridge, which you guys have not seen any documentation on except the rezoning. But those are the three named subdivisions we have in that sewer district right now. So this is a mixture of both incurred cost and anticipated costs. So those fees would cover the anticipated cost of the city constructing the northeast trunk sewer from the lift station to Northside Drive. And then it also includes a credit that was provided to the Big Creek Ridge subdivision for off-site sanitary sewer installed to accommodate development along Northside Drive prior to the construction of the northeast trunk sewer. So that's a mixture of those two. That would be why in the contributing cost of fee, that number will not match what was shown in the CIP. That's because it's the CIP number plus $160,000 for that credit. So we've got approximately, or just short of 2,300 acres contributing to that hookup fee district, and we come up with a hookup fee district, or a hookup fee of $2,715. Again, that would be on a purely per acre basis. That one, I think it's gonna be, I think on the southeast, it's gonna be a little more, or it's gonna be a little easier to get more in the minutia of how we charge that. But we could look at if there's a way that we can do it on a usage basis. The big thing is with hookup fees, you can't recover costs you don't anticipate incurring. So we just have to be careful and understand what we can and can't do with those. But we can talk about the kind of changing that with the city attorney. So I've kind of included a layout of this one just so that you guys understand what we're constructing, both in the aerial view and with lot lines. So at the top of the right image is Monarch Crossing. And then on the west, you can kind of see how it lays in there relative to the tree cover and that kind of thing. Any questions on the northeast? And to answer the question you didn't ask, Jeff, we slid it to the east there because of the way that those parcel lines laid out. Originally, we had it completely bisecting that. And so it made more sense with the fact that it wasn't going to be there before the homes, putting it in that shared trail sanitary sewer easement area on that property line. And we don't lose service by doing so. We double check that before allowing Monarch to do what they did. Okay, then we'll move to the north sanitary sewer service area. So this includes areas north of East Vista Lake Avenue and Northwest Hug Drive. This is by far the largest sanitary sewer hookup fee district that we're looking to include. The only named subdivision we have in this so far is Gateway Crossings, which was rezoned 2 to 3 years ago at this point, up by at the intersection of 3rd Street and Northwest 126th Avenue. So this hookup fee is purely anticipated costs, so that's city costs associated with the north trunk sewer, and then the downstream improvements near the existing sewer. The contributing cost to that is just north of $6.6 million with a service area just short of 7,400. This proposed hookup fee district comes out to $985 per acre. But again, as we continue to extend those trunk sewers, there may be additional fees that are added as we move further and further away from the downstream. Included in the packet, I've kind of laid out for you what that number, that 6.627 million gets you. So it's parallel sewers in the downstream improvements, phase 1 and phase 2, to supplement the existing 27-inch sewer that you have today, and then extension of that of that sewer up along Wolf Creek on the west side of Wolf Creek Townhomes and Creekview Estates to the north side of Northwest Hug Drive. So that basically opens everything north of Hug. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so when you said this one's quite a bit bigger, and it looks like we've got 7,000 acres and we've got 2,000 acres. With a big window, well, we'll just look at this one, right? So far north as this go and as much ground as it covers, is there precedent for how to treat the first development in, coming up with a cost per acre, and you're the first development of 7,000 acres, you're a lot of times gonna elapse between those two. What's the equitable way? It seems fairly straightforward if you're talking about Big Creek, the last one, the smallest one, I think. Okay, the time horizon is fairly limited there.
Yeah, so, and that's what we're gonna discuss to make sure that we're on the same page with the city attorney, but that's where that yearly interest incurred would happen. So each year you would adopt a growth on that hookup fee. And so that essentially the way that most hookup fee districts are set up is, it benefits you to develop it as soon as you can, because that fee potentially goes up because you guys are carrying that cost year over year over year. And so that's how municipalities recover their cost incurred, is by applying whatever, and typically you have to justify what that interest or inflation would be.
Well, then you get into a question of order, the span at which it might be developed. So by the time the last development rolls in, first of all, I guess I'm a little leery on that far out. So how do you bring a trunk sewer online?
We, yeah, we could look probably at the developable, or like what we think the developable land is. It's just, you kind of have to strike that balance, because this right now probably doesn't really serve anything. You're gonna have to pick it up from that manhole and extend it further. So there's going to be an additional cost to almost every development in this. So that's part of the reason that we laid it out that way, is we looked at what can we serve, and we spread that cost as evenly as we could, knowing that we're probably gonna have to stack on top of it. Because typically what we've heard from developers is it's $3,000 to $5,000 per acre is what most residential land can carry in terms of like additional hookup fees and charges in addition to the land cost. That's what we've been told. And so by the time you take that 985 and you start stacking things on top of it, that's kind of what we're trying to do. But we can look at what's reasonable, or to, because again, I understand your concern of, like, you guys spend $6.6 million and then you carry that cost, and then 30 years it's still not completely paid off. What benefit did it do you? You know, hopefully a sewer is going to last longer than that, and it should, but then there's all these other costs associated with it.
And that should have been how I phrased it. It's not a useful life question as it is in carrying the balance of the debt question.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's gonna have to be. So you borrow $6 to put this in.
Right. I think that's a good question that we can kind of talk through what some of the options are with the city attorney as well. Okay, anything else on the north? The Big Creek Sanitary Sewer Service area, so this area is west of Northwest 72nd Avenue, north of Northwest Hug Drive. It includes Four Seasons, Polk City, the Carlton Plata Survey, which is a small plata survey that split 2 lots, as well as several unplatted parcels north of Hug Drive. So these fees cover anticipated city costs to upgrade the existing lift station located within the Big Creek Valley subdivision. So I think it was constructed, if my numbers are correct, TCI Plat 6. That lift station would need to be upgraded, and it's at the time of, I think it was 105 single-family lots or somewhere in that ballpark of the Four Seasons Polk City subdivision. Those pumps would need to be upgraded, and so that's what this cost is. So $152,000 split over 128.4 acres comes out to just short of $1,200 per acre, 1185. So the idea there is that whenever those homes get constructed, we've collected some of that fee up front, and then we can supplement the rest of it with the remaining homes that develop in that area. And then the other thing about this one in particular, because there's several existing homes that are on unplatted lots, if they wish to come and connect to the city sewer, that's when they would be required to pay that hookup fee. Essentially, that's the mechanism by which you get, even if there's not a platting action, if they wish to hook up to the sewer, that's when that happens.
Okay, so that brings up a sideways topic, because I, in the last couple of years, learned that there are more houses in town that are originally thought that don't have, that aren't connected. So what impact does setting up these districts have already in city limits?
So it doesn't drive any action, it doesn't require anything, it's just if they choose to connect, this fee on a per acre basis would be charged in addition to whatever inspection fees or permit fees or whatever it would be.
What if they're not in one of these districts? They're in town, they're not in districts, and they don't have. I get that it doesn't cause them to do anything as a trigger,
Okay.
but does it help us say here's a standard cost structure to use?
So you already have one in terms of connecting to the main or tapping the main. This is purely, because we're planning on you connecting to the sewer, we're gonna have to upgrade our pumps. And that's why you have to pay this additional fee. If there's another area, like I know up on it'd be the north end of Broadway, there's a few houses out there. They as the property owner would be responsible for getting that sewer service to themselves and connected. And if the city doesn't incur any cost, you have no mechanism by which to charge them. That's what the sanitary sewer hookup fees are for, is for recovering costs that you incur.
No change to.
No. Nope, it would just be that tapping fee. And I don't know what the number is. Yep. So then I've got just the summary to kind of give you an idea where we're at in terms of southeast 1905, northeast 2715, north 985, and then the Big Creek 1185. All of those on per acre basis. But I'm getting direction that we'll talk to the city attorney about is there a way that we can do it based on density, and then looking into the practical angle of when are we actually going to recover those costs and what is reasonable. So we'll talk to the city attorney on Wednesday with that, and then based on that information, we'll plan to bring something to the council on a future agenda.
Are you all okay with after we have a meeting with the city attorney and draft ordinances? That process started. This does sound like you want it to be higher use. We'll certainly try to do, if we're not able to do that, we do it per acre.
Okay. So then we'll move to our next topic, the Northeast 7th Street extension through Polk City Regional Park. So this would include, So we're gonna kind of change the format after talking through it with staff. What we're gonna propose to you guys is kind of a combined approach to the Northeast Seventh Street extension through the regional park and the Polk City Junction Trail Phase 3 project. Previously, these had been listed as separate items and CIPs, planning documents, all those different things. Based on the way everything's transpired, the mass grading potentially being completed as early as the spring, I think the idea of having these as a combined project makes a little more sense, but we can kind of delve into that. So just kind of bring everybody up to speed. Northeast 7th Street extension, so that's a 31-foot back-to-back, so back of curb to back of curb. Concrete, 7-inch pavement that would connect from the intersection of Northeast 7th and Madison Drive up to the current stub of Northeast 7th south of East Vista Lake Avenue. This project will include and has always included trail construction between the previously built Polk City Junction Trail Phase 2, so along the south school property line. From there to the street, including both ramps and then up to the top of the landing. Just in general, roadway crossings are difficult to kind of retrofit. And so the idea has always been, we'll build those ramps, we'll build those landings as part of the street, give ourselves a good connection point to jump off of, and then Phase 3 would continue from the top of that landing. Northeast 7th also includes construction of a 5-foot sidewalk on the east side of Northeast 7th Street. With associated storm sewer and sanitary sewer to service the park, as well as drain the roadway and that kind of stuff. The big thing on that is it is only included on the east side of the street. The west side sidewalk would be the responsibility of the adjacent property owner upon further development of the school site. So I did want council to be aware of that. What we're proposing is sidewalk along the east side, and then the west side would be constructed if and when the school chooses to add a second building, which they've indicated is the eventual plan. In our opinion, having that east side sidewalk provides the service that we need to the established facility, and then when that second building would come online, that would drive the need for that sidewalk on the west side. So we think that's a reasonable approach to spend the money when it's needed. Estimated cost for that, so storm sewer, sanitary sewer, a little bit of trail along with a street crossing, and then that east or Northeast 7th Street extension is $1.591 million. So again, just including that layout for you, kind of give you an idea where we're at. And then Polk City Junction Trail Phase 3, so that would include construction of the trail through the Polk City Regional Park from Northeast 7th Street to the north corporate limits. So that does include the section of trail that currently would lie on ground owned by Knapp Properties as part of the recent, or not so recent, development agreement amendment that the council approved. We have a mechanism by which, when we're ready to construct that trail, Knapp will provide that easement for our use. So that gives us the mechanism to be able to do it all in one shot. I think that helps with your economy of scale. It'll make it a little bit easier in terms of getting that connected and then not being driven by the developer's timeline. And it gives you guys the opportunity to kind of control the timing of all of that trail, not have that trail gap kind of sitting out there between, the High Trestle Trail and Polk City. As I mentioned, we're going to in our opinion, it's a good time to change the approach that we've taken to this project. So previously, we've viewed Phase 3 and the Northeast 7th Street extension as two separate projects. All the planning numbers have shown that. But because we're getting the mass grading taken care of, we think it makes the most sense to include it as part of the base bid alongside Northeast 7th Street. And we think this for a couple of reasons. It'll be a really, really easy trail section to build in terms of you've already got it mass graded, you're going to do a little bit of dirt work, and then you're going to pave it. The reason we're thinking we want to do it as one project instead of two is if you have more contractors in the same area, they're more likely to struggle with coordination, they're more likely to get in each other's way. And oftentimes that coordination can be a very, very expensive item. And so by putting it all under a single contract, you cut down on some of the coordination between different contractors. And we think it's going to give you an overall better experience through the construction process as well as the end product, because all those items are going to be coordinated together. You know, you're not going to have a trail contractor that wants to do it right away, comes in and paves the whole thing, and then he misses his elevation by 2 inches one way or the other, and then we have to do some changes to the roadway to make it all work. It's going to be one of those situations where you're going to come in, you're going to pave the street, you're going to put that sidewalk and ramp in, and then you're going to run and grab the trail, and it's all going to be coordinated under the same prime contractor. So the estimated project cost for the phase 3, including engineering, is $304,000. So I've kind of tried to help you, or kind of break these down and put them all on one page. So that Northeast 7th Street, we've got $1.383 million for the construction itself. Phase 3 is $264,000 for the construction itself. And then we're estimating the engineering cost to be $208,000 for the 7th Street and $40,000 for the trail. With total construction cost being $1.647 million and the engineering total being $248,000. I will say each of those is, so some of those, that engineering estimate has been based on them being separate projects, as well as these costs were handled that way just to give us a good planning number. Some of that may come down if we combine these and we get that economy of scale. Kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking for this project. So the intention would be to bid the project in the fall or winter of 25-26. So give us basically this whole year to design it, have it out to bid early in the bidding phase of the next construction season, get onto somebody's schedule early, which should give us the best opportunity for positive bid results. Timing wise, what we would recommend is if you guys want to proceed with this, to not authorize design of the project until mass grading is done. That will save you guys money in the long run. It'll save us work, and it likely saves us project schedule. Simply because if we design off of a preliminary design grading plan, we're going to do a bunch of work, and then we're going to have to go and retrofit it. Whereas if we would just go out, we wait till the mass grading is done, and we get it surveyed, it's going to be a much cleaner design process. It's going to minimize the rework. It's going to minimize the redesign. And then basically what we would anticipate is from notice to proceed, following that mass grading being complete, to a bid letting, we're going to say 6 to 7 months. This one, because there's not a lot of utilities involved, because we've taken care of all of the environmental permitting as part of the mass grading project, there shouldn't be a lot of hurdles when it comes to construction of this project or design of this project. And so we feel very good about that 6 to 7 month period being a good design period. And then we think because of the lack of existing utilities, as well as the lack of existing infrastructure around this project, we think a full construction season should be more than enough time to get this thing taken care of. So with that, I tried to make sure that I didn't go over time because I tend to be long-winded. But do you have any questions, discussion items, things you'd like to talk about as far as that project's concerned?
Two things. I know we talked about this on Friday, but do we know when the app is scheduled to have 7th Street, Madison and all that then?
Scheduled? No. But what I would tell you is they have sanitary sewer in the ground, and we're 3 or 4 submittals into reviewing construction drawings for the whole plat. So my anticipation is that it would be done this construction season.
Okay. And then my other question was, so on slide 20, project cost breakdown, that's the total cost for doing 7th Street and a trail, phase 3 at the same time, right?
Yep. Yep, that bottom line, I just broke it down by construction total and engineering total so that you had it. But yeah, those two numbers together in that bottom box.
Okay.
When are you wanting the discussion and an answer on that?
So the thought would be is if we could get under contract and design started tail end of May, beginning of June, that probably puts us in a pretty decent spot to get it designed by the end of the year. And again, that would be contingent on mass grading. I think we're kind of in a position where we would work with staff, we would understand when the mass grading is gonna be done, then we would go from there.
Does that coincide with feedback from?
And what was your date again, I'm sorry?
June or early July. Well, late May into June.
Our last meeting is the second week of July.
Well, six meetings.
Six meetings, yeah.
And what I would say is if we need to wait until after that last meeting, if it's in the first part of July, I don't think sliding a bid date from December to say late January, early February hurts. That's a really, really prime time to bid projects like this, particularly ones that somebody's gonna be able to occupy most of a construction season. So I wouldn't have a lot of heartburn about if we need to slide it into the middle of July.
I think so, right?
If we can discuss that with, meet again February 13th. Talk about the potential. Maybe we could have two meetings in 1 month or something like that.
Well, and I, the way I've kind of viewed this too, in terms of, I think in a lot of ways, this is more than a park service road. And I think that's the way I would view it is, I think maybe you approach the committee in terms of, you know, this isn't, we're giving you access. It shouldn't really steer a lot of their decision-making either. Again, we don't want to predispose the decisions that committee makes, but I think that's a way that you could approach it that would make sense, is that this is a municipal street that's going to provide them better service to the facility that they're laying out and approaching.
Well, it just so happens that one of the sessions will be to hearing to talk about various
Okay, I'm all for it. I love meetings.
So we normally have a hard pass stop on the Pork Chills. Are there any other questions? Council, so if we did, we could do it. If not, we will thank you for
Yep.
your presentation and ask for a motion and a second. And a second, adjourn. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign.